new here, my name's Cody. I am joined by Jordan. We are both members of the Good Rep Media team. We have been working with Good Rep for a couple of years now, and we've been helping small businesses rank better on Google for that whole time, which is super cool. I've been really enjoyed it. And while we kind of get this intro down, while we kind of get into our topic of the day, how are you feeling, Jordan?
I woke up with a pretty bad headache. I went to bed with a pretty bad headache, but right now, at this very moment, I'm feeling pretty good.
Hell yeah. See, feeling good enough is just getting there. And I feel so we're both in Michigan. And if you are part of the Midwest, honestly, if you live in the United States, you've probably been hearing about the absolute terrible weather we've been having all across the Midwest, the snow, the ice, and the cold, polar vortex, things like that. It's awful out here, and it is definitely affecting us.
Yeah, I actually had a headache yesterday during improv. Like from the moment I was like stepping in the door, I was like, it kind of hurts. It wasn't as bad as when I got home, but like while I was there, I was like, I kind of got a little headache. And then like we did the stage work with the light on, where we were like staring into the light, and I was like, oh, this sucks. like this should be really cool, but man, does that hurt.
Oddly enough, it's like I I remember growing up and my parents and adults around me always telling me like, "Oh, you have a headache? Like bright light does that." I'm like, "What are you talking about? No, it doesn't." Like none of these very obvious things make sense. Like if you stretch your muscles, you'll be able to you'll be more limber. Otherwise, if you don't stretch, your muscles will tighten up and it will hurt to move. Like, yeah, duh, that makes sense. But if I would have thought about it critically for a couple of seconds as a kid and been like, "Oh, wait. Maybe that's why whenever I ran, I would cramp up. And so I could only ever sprint and I could never run distances because I never freaking stretched."
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, definitely in my 30s, I find myself stretching more than I did in high school, which is crazy.
yeah. Honestly, it's where we need to be. I spend at least 30 minutes on the floor every single day. Like, unironically, I wake up in the morning and I do jumping jacks and I stretch out my back. And then when I got out of work, I 100% got on the floor and do some yoga.
Yeah.
you,
Nice.
you got to keep that going, man. You got to keep it up. And when I say you got to keep that going, you got to keep it up. It kind of leads right into our point today. We wanted to talk about consistency. We're live on the Joey Matterhorn channel. If you follow the Joey Matterhorn channel, you know that Joey Matterhorn talks about side hustles. It talks about making money, how to do things online in order to better yourself, how to make profit, how to, do all of the good things online while also not being a terrible person. Part of that is definitely consistency and making consistent small or large steps to changing and improving your life. What do you think of when you think of consistency? Like,
A lot of what you just said there, just like no matter what it is, just the ability to kind of keep it on repeat, and like the same schedule. Um, like I think often like scheduling, like consistency, like you think like because like I've had like jobs where it was like like when I worked at Meyer, it's like each week you had to look at your schedule to be like, oh, this is when I work, versus like here where it's like, no, every single week it is a consistent work week. And that's not like self consistency, but that is consistency in your life that I think kind of helps add to like your ability to be consistent in your day to day, because humans are creatures of habit,
yeah.
or at
Well,
least I am. And
well, we're all creatures of habit, just varying degrees. I immediately think of when we started talking about consistency, when I was coming up with the notes when we were kind of discussing this topic, I almost attribute it to video games because I attribute everything to video games. I say attribute. I always bring it back and compare it to video games. Did you ever play Stardew Valley?
no.
So Stardew Valley, for those of you who don't know, it's a quality of cozy game. And the whole point of Stardew Valley is to build up your farm that's been derelict. You don't have any tools, you're starting from nothing and you have to clean it up. It's considered a little incremental improvement style game. As part of this game, there's a whole town and village that you interact with, and all of those NPCs, all of the villagers have different wants, desires, needs. They run different shops and they're active at different times. And when we get into the idea of consistency, I think of the fact that, hey, we have our consistent work schedule every single week. Stardew Valley, those NPCs, the fishing NPC would show up on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and whenever it would rain, and then they would be in their shop from 9 a.m. to noon the other times. Like they would have a schedule and consistency of where they were at. And so as you played this game, as you got into the habit of playing Stardew Valley, you'd figure out everyone's schedules, and that
Yeah.
really helped you because you know when to go visit someone.
Yeah, I mean, like, so, like, I don't have Stardew Valley as an example, but if we
Mhm.
keep it in the vein of video games, a few things kind of came to mind there. I think of like Animal Crossing. I don't know if you played
Yeah,
the
it's
new
another one.
Animal Crossing, like similar concept. Like, there's gonna be certain vendors who come to your island at certain times of the week on certain days at certain times, and so like when to be expecting that. And then also I look at things like I play MMOs, World of Warcraft, stuff like that, that are like, oh, like you get into a community like that's a massive online community that you're taking part in, and then like they get together to do like these massive like 40 player raids where you have to have 40 people all together, all working together to complete something. And it's like, yeah, that takes schedule and coordination. And so like what normally happens then is you get into a guild that's like, hey, we raid on Fridays,
Mhm.
and then so you start having a consistent schedule of like, oh, I'm gonna get with the boys and we're gonna go take down Nax Ramus here on Friday,
You set up that consistent schedule, and so Melanie asks a really good question here that I want to highlight. Why is showing up consistently more important than doing things perfectly? And do you think people get caught up in the quality of their work in a way that affects how they show up? So I want to split this up first because I think it's an interesting point. One, Jordan, do you think it's more important to show up consistently than to show up perfectly?
Yes, because I believe if you're not perfect, consistently showing up and working on it is what's going to get you there.
Yeah.
I don't believe there's rare circumstances where someone out the gate will be perfect at something, but like there's a lot more situations where someone will put the time, effort, and consistency in to become perfect at something.
Yeah, it's almost the idea of like, hey, you're never going to be perfect when you first start something. So like, why is showing up consistently more important than doing things perfectly? Because you're not going to do things perfectly. The
Mhm.
part of the human condition, and I thought this was super funny. We were talking about yesterday in our improv class, the human condition and what it means to be human. And I really love that conversation topic. I've always described it as subscribe to being human, and part of being human is being part of the community. Part of being human is being a villager, and so part of being human is recognizing, hey, you're going to show up and it's not going to be perfect. Um, it's more important that you show up. And I think this translates to almost any aspect of life. My immediate is like, okay, you have a kid. It's more important that you show up as a parent than you are the perfect parent because you're not going to be the perfect parent. If you are working a job, it's more important that you show up on time and you put in your energy and effort than you show up late and never do anything and only do exactly what's asked of you, but you do it perfectly. Like, yeah, sometimes that's a good employee, but also sometimes you want someone who's there and actually part of the team so it doesn't drag everyone around them down.
Yeah, absolutely. Following up to the second half of this question,
Yeah. Let me rehighlight.
and do you think people get caught up in the quality of their work in a way that affects how they show up? So, yeah, like I think when you start kind of like combining that with the previous question of like perfection versus consistency, you look at our podcast here, like you and
Mhm.
I think have very different mentalities where I'm like, hey, we can take some time to really perfect something, but in order to do that, maybe we need to take like a day off. And then you will be like, no, but if we stay consistent and we keep doing it, then we're improving naturally, anyways. So it's like we're both right, like it's not like
Yeah.
I'm wrong, you're wrong. Like they're two different avenues that will both lead you to Rome, you
Well, and
know?
there's definitely like nuance there. Specifically, so let's talk about this podcast. I'm here for that. You've mentioned wanting to like take a break, a week off, because right now I've talked about specifically we don't have the time to put in to figure all of this out. We're very busy. Work itself is swamped right now. We've got a lot of actual projects and onboarding and a lot of other stuff that's going on. And so finding the time to put in the like thought and energy to improve this podcast is very difficult outside of dedicating the time that we would be on this pod to improving it. And so I get what you mean. I'm almost there for it, but I would rather be consistent. And maybe this is like one of those I've been sold consistency way too much, because I remember when I used to watch Twitch streamers a lot. Were you
Mhm.
you were a Twitch stream watcher,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
a little bit.
I used to
Not
watch a lot of them, and I used to watch them because they would show up at the same times all the time. And that was my big like TV. I wouldn't show up to, it was almost like a parasocial relationship. Like I would tune in at 9 p.m. because that's when they would go live, is like 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. So I'd tune in at 9 p.m. and then game with them while they were on my second monitor. And so that kind of like consistency, when they would always go live at 9 p.m., they were always live for that 6 hour time period, was really important to me. And when they were not in that time period, I noticed. And that's really, really beneficial, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so like I had a friend who tried to get his channel up and going, his Twitch and everything, and he would always constantly be like telling us like, "Hey, this is like, like I'm watching people who give tips on like how to improve this." And that was always the thing that he'd say is like that almost everybody who tells you how to run a channel like that is to be consistent. Don't just be like I'm going live whenever I can. It's like, no, treat it almost like a television episode. Oh, you're breaking up.
Mhm.
You're you're
Oh,
fuzzy.
yeah, I was gonna say.
Am I fuzzy?
No, you went fuzzy for me, but we're back, I think.
You're fuzzy for me still, but I'm gonna keep talking. It's almost like a television show. Some I think I genuinely believe my parents don't watch a lot of shows because they like them. They watch them because they've gotten into a habit of watching them at a certain time every single day. And so like this is our version of The Price is Right. Like
Yeah. The Price is Right at 11 a.m. every single Saturday, or what is it, daily? 11
they
a.m.?
watch it every day. Like whether or not it's a
Yeah.
new episode, I don't know, but they watch it every day at a certain time. Even to the point where once they got like Fubo, and like now it's like, oh, we do have television channels, but we also can stream things, and now we have access to every single episode of The Price is Right. It's like we're still gonna watch The Price is Right at that time. We're just gonna pick what episode we watch. And it's like that's crazy. That's
I
crazy.
mean,
That is commitment to consistency.
and I'll be real, I love that. And so maybe this is a tangent, and Mel, you can get mad at me for this, because I want to hash out this idea with Jordan, because we've talked about it. We're both D&D players, we're both fantasy people. We really enjoy like exploring ideas. And so I have been toying with this concept of a witch knight. So knights and paladins, they have like their oaths, and they have like their coat of arms. And witches, in my like lexicon, my understanding of witches, they have their craft, witchcraft. And so where do they actually, what do they use for their witchcraft? Do they collect happiness? Do they collect sadness? Do they collect evil or good? What are they collecting from around the aura around them? They're kind of like aura users, stuff like that. What do they use? And so I've been toying with this idea of a witch who uses traditions and consistency to build up to be a knight. And it's like, hey, you are a witch who is also a knight, but your witchcraft is tradition. Your witchcraft is laws and rules and justice.
That's pretty
And I
cool.
thought that would be a fascinating kind of character study.
Yeah, no, that is cool. I will admit I was a little distracted while you were talking because after the pixels stopped, you were like the video was so far behind like where you're talking, but like slowly worked itself to it. And I was just watching like where's the video at and what he's saying right now. And then as it was going, like it was slowly like I don't know if it was sped up a little bit and caught up, and now it's perfect. But it did
Oh,
it in
hell
like
yeah.
a seamless move. So like I was watching you like not be synced up, and then like it just like slowly worked its way to syncing up, and that was kind of
That's kind of cool.
yeah, I don't know how that happened, but it distracted me a lot, but the character does sound cool.
Anyways, we're getting into it. We're talking about consistency, and I like the idea. I think humans in general, we have a lot of trust, a lot of hope, a lot of ideation with tradition and consistency and habits. One of the big things, if you're in the side hustle space, if you're in the hey, I want to work on myself, I want to grind set mindset myself. Uh, oh yeah, I saw that. You definitely want to work on your consistency. You want to work on these skills. And so we talk about, hey, build up habits, build up traditions, do it. Jordan, you've mentioned like 5 or 6 times now, make your bed in the morning. Uh, Dude, make your bed in the morning. 100%. That shouldn't be a question. And I had this thought. we want to do a podcast specifically on habits, good habits, bad habits, how to break habits, how to make new habits, um, in some of the like positives and negatives that we've experienced. And just kind of preface that one of the negatives I've experienced, uh, don't watch video content within like 30 minutes to an hour of waking up. It is awful. Have you experienced that? Do you watch video in the morning? Do you like wake up to TikTok?
I fall asleep with the TV on sometimes.
See, that's fair. So when you wake up, does your TV automatically turn off?
No.
Oh, that's wild. You gotta get
Sometimes.
that setting.
It depends on what I'm watching. Like if I'm watching like YouTube and then it'll like go into like a new video and into a new video
Oh,
into a new video, it'll keep going. But like if I'm watching like Netflix and it'll hit that "Are you still watching?" and then be on like a pause screen for long enough, then it will turn off. The problem is I run my TV through my computer. So it's not like
oh.
it's just showing what the computer's doing. So if the computer goes to sleep, the TV will go to sleep. But if the
Mm,
computer stays on, the TV will stay on.
that makes
I
sense. And
keep
I've almost
waking up. I keep waking up to these YouTube videos. Like I know like this entire show now that I've never heard of before. I forget what it's called, but it's about like them working in like a supermarket. It's almost kind of like The Office meets like working in like a supermarket.
okay.
Like I know the character. I know like her entire through line. I
You're
know
like, I know everything about this, but
I know.
hey man,
Spoiler alert, I don't even know the name of the show, but I know that she becomes the manager of the store, and the manager of the store takes a step down and becomes the employee. Like, I know
ooh,
she starts dating one of the employees.
the
Like,
full rundown.
I
See,
know a
and when
lot of
I
it.
when I watch YouTube and I'm like, I'm gonna take a nap to YouTube, I'm over here watching like Viking crap
I
or
normally
like
fall asleep watching like Dropout or something, and then it leads to that. Like I'm telling you, I don't know how it gets there, but it gets there every night.
that's kind of hilarious. But okay. Next question we got. When you are ready to move on, how do you track progress over time to stay encouraged? Have you noticed any strategies or plans that work better than the
I
other?
believe though when you're ready to move on shouldn't be taken into consideration for this question. I think she was saying that as far as maybe
Oh,
tangenting.
when we're ready to stop tangenting. Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. Fair enough. How do you track progress over time to stay encouraged? Have you noticed any strategies or plans that work better than others?
I think like the next cloud kind of like checking off when you get because I've said this a lot. I'm a big checklist kind of person. So that ability of being able to be like, oh, I got something done. The first thing I'm gonna do as soon as I finish the task is jump over and check that off. I need to be better at making it the first thing I do, and that's where the consistency does come in. But like that is where like it encourages me to keep going because that is the best feeling of being like that's done. I'm done with it. Move on to the next thing. That's my driving thing in work. So
Yeah.
like I'd say Nextcloud or any type of activity management app is going to be big for that. What about you?
I will say so when you're tracking your progress over time, it depends on the project. So, for example, if we're talking tracking our progress on podcasting over time, I don't think we have a lot of quantifiable goals, and that's maybe something we can improve on because we do. We talk about quantifiable goals. We talk about writing down, hey, like let's write down the things that we want to do to succeed, and so maybe we can live that a little bit more with this podcast, where we're like, hey, let's write down some actual goals. Um, because I
I
think that's the one thing that we don't do enough of is we don't plan out what we want to do for like the pod. I think we go into it with a lot of individualized goals. I
Yeah.
go into podcasting with the idea of I want to improve how I publicly speak and I want to improve like my comfortability in front of a camera. Like being here doing this is me improving and doing something outside of my wheelhouse.
Do you think being in front of the camera has in our 2 weeks of improv classes, do you think has made you any comfortable on the stage? Any more
Ooh.
comfortable than you would have been if we didn't do this?
I will say yeah, 100%. I noticed. So we're both taking an improv class on Sundays, loving it. We're gonna chat about it a little bit more in depth, but I wanted to stress that the class itself is pretty basic. I
It's like
think we
doing
probably
exercises all it really is, you know?
yeah, it's kind of basic exercises, and it is very like new people who are new to it, and so like I watch some of the people who get up on stage and they're like shaking. I'm like, if I hadn't done this for a year, I think that would be me. I do think playing D&D, a lot of the things that we've done have prepared us to be better at this and a little bit more comfortable. And so I know when I was chatting with the workers, I was talking about how I make YouTube videos and I spend an hour a day recording and talking to a camera. And they were like, "Oh my god, what?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's one of the best ways to improve is to sit there and talk." Now, are there better, quicker ways? Probably, but I like what I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah, and again, I know we're trying to not dive too deep into the improv
Yeah.
stuff. Save that juice for tomorrow. But like, I think that I'm someone who would be comfortable up on the stage regardless. But I do think that since I've been doing this, I'm doing a lot better at articulating thoughts
Yeah.
and kind of getting those out, and I think that that is translating really well. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and so I think that there's an extra level of confidence because at these improv things, I feel like I'm one of like maybe three of us that seem to really be giving it. Like whenever like it's like my turn, I'm like, I'm fuck it 100%, like
Yeah.
and I think that that is coming a big part from this. I mean, there's a lot of other times in my life where I've kind of been like, you know what, if I'm gonna be in front of people, I'm just gonna do the thing,
Yeah.
and so this helps, but I do think that maybe there was a part of me that was already able to do that.
100%. I will say, and I keep saying, I'm realizing, and this is one of those lessons that I think you learn. I keep starting my sentence with "I will say"
Yeah.
or like a qualifier, and
Mhm.
that's something some of the games that we were playing when we were doing improv, I think, really help with. So we'll dive into that. If you are interested in hearing more about our improv experience, kind of the different games we were playing, and what skill set that builds up, I do think it's extremely valuable for anyone who's working in marketing. If you're working a side hustle, if you're interacting with other human beings, if you're trying to be part of a team ever, or if you're trying to flip cell phones, if you're trying to interact with people, go learn improv. You need to learn to play off the people around you. You need to learn to bounce ideas around and be a part of a team and a group. And it's going to be very valuable. But join us tomorrow where we're going to chat about that maybe a little bit more in depth, as is for consistency. Um, I wanted to touch on the idea of consistency without effort because I think that is also valuable. Because you described how when you are showing up to that class, you're putting in the effort, you're going to put 100% in. What about showing up and not putting the effort in? So,
Well,
like,
it's
I'm
a
thinking
waste
of,
of time at that point, like at least to me, if I believe so with the classes, it's like it's a lot of like you get a moment and then you have to wait and watch everybody else's moment.
Mhm.
And so like my big fear with the classes is like there's not as much opportunity to really grow your skills and abilities as I would hope there is. So any opportunity that I am going to get, I am going to take. you
Yeah,
know and I feel like I'm one of the people who asks the most questions in the class. I or when he asks, do you how did you that make you guys feel, like I'm one of the people who gets out there and I say like this is like what I was thinking during that, so that I can hear the person I'm paying $250 to teach me. I can let him teach me things.
yeah. And I think that's really important, and I do think that there's a different mindset there because there's a couple different levels to this type of class where you're coming in, and I'll say I'm coming in with the same idea of like I'm going to give this my all. I want to take this class. I want to learn. I want to grow. I want to go take two. I want to take level three. I want to like experience more of this because it's really fun and I enjoy learning the games and how it all works. I
Yeah.
think there is a level right now, especially because we're in level one, where it's like, hey, we're going to start out, and there's a lot of people who want to show up, not necessarily show up for improv.
Yeah.
And so I want to compare this to a little bit like a tangent here. If you are coming into the new year and you're setting a goal for yourself of, I want to work out 3 times a week, so I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week. Do you think that when you have a bad week, it's better to just not go, or is it better to go and half-ass your way through a workout?
Well, I think in workouts, halving ass a workout is like d- objectively, is better than not working out. A
Yes.
half workout is still better than not working out. Now, what I would take your situation there and maybe apply it to something else like writing.
Okay.
Like if you're like I want to try and write X amount of pages like every week, and then this week it's like, I'm hitting some writer's block, but I got to still get something down on paper. Like forcing something down on paper may be a detriment to the rest of your work. Whereas going and lifting weights, you might lift a little less than you normally do, but that's still a healthy step forward. Whereas you might be a detriment to your body of work that you've been working if you give a half-ass 20 pages because
Yeah.
you
Well,
weren't feeling it.
and I think at that point I get what you're getting at. I would say in that situation, specifically with writing, if you set yourself a goal to write 1,000 words a day or something like that, like put that as an example, and you're like, I want to write it all for my book, and you're like, oh, I can't write 1,000 words today for my book. My brain is not working. I would highly suggest that you go and write 1,000 words on something else. I would still try to do the thing even if it's not specifically for your body of work. Your
Gotcha.
goal might be, oh,
Yeah,
I want to finish a book by this date, so I'm going to write 1,000 words every day. And if I can't write for my book, I don't think you should stop. Personally,
yeah.
you should 100% still try and get that written. At least
Yeah,
in
no,
my
and I think that no, I think you're absolutely right because then you are still because then that is similar to the working out one where it's like because you think about like
opinion.
writing is almost like a brain exercise,
Yeah.
and while I pitched a scenario where like maybe like doing that exercise might hurt and like hurt something
Yeah.
else,
Yeah. Yeah.
you gave a solution to where it's like, well, you can still exercise your brain, you know, you don't have to go bench press today, but you can still go squat,
Yeah.
or something
And I
like
think that mindset shift, I think, is where we need to get to. Like that's the meat and potatoes that I'm trying to get across. And I think is the point. Like, hey, set yourself a goal. And if you're not going to be able to do it, if you're feeling down, you're feeling low, the word of the day for me is ennui. If you haven't heard it before,
it's gonna
ennui,
be your word of the week,
ENN,
bro. I can already tell. I know
100%.
I find these tendencies in you. This is gonna be a week to 2 week saying that you're word that you're gonna say.
It's the year of the spectrum, week of ennui. Okay, but ennui, ENNUI, it's kind of like lethargy, a little bit like you feel low, you feel a little bit of ennui, you're low energy. Generally, you're feeling on a depressive level. Not necessarily depressed, but ennui, a little bit of nostalgia almost. And so 100%. Ennui is my word of the week. Take that with you. Bring that one home. If you've never used the word ennui, work it into a sentence. Love to hear about it. Comment it down below if you've had any good ones. Um, but yeah, I would say I don't even remember how I got off the topic of ennui. This is the distraction for me.
Yeah, it's all good. Do you feel like has your consistency let's look at like how you've been consistent with your channel with your
Oh yeah,
magic
yeah.
channel. Do you feel like your consistency has ever been a detriment to you at all? Like it like kind of like I'm saying where it's almost like you forced out something that you don't think was as good as it could have been and you did it because you felt the need to do it for consistency's sake.
There's definitely been times where I have uploaded something that I didn't necessarily want to. Where I was like, this is not a great video. This is not a great draft. This is not what I was hoping it would be. Um in those situations are, I would say, fewer. I definitely still upload and I will keep it
Have,
consistent because
have
for me, keeping it consistent is a value. And
yeah.
so for me, I value that a lot more highly than coming out with a perfect product.
And have any of them ever surprised you with your results? I get that, like, not a whole like you don't get very many surprises with your channel at this point in the state at this stage in its
Yeah.
life, but like, have any of them been like, oh, that I know they weren't like standout, but like better than you thought
Anything
they would
better than
be?
others? Yeah, I've had a couple that have done all right. Um, there's one specifically where so I upload Magic the Gathering content. If you know Magic the Gathering, there's this format called Draft. It's a limited format, blah 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 blah. I upload videos of it. If you've ever played a card game against someone and they've got the nuts and they've actually, you're playing blackjack and they get 21 five hands in a row, you're playing whatever, you're getting screwed.
You don't play
I
blackjack against the table, you play it with the table, you're playing against the dealer.
I don't gamble, man. if you're sports betting and the Lions lose 18 games in a row, whatever it might be.
There's only 17 games in the season.
Well, didn't we win? Didn't we lose 17 in a row in like
We
2019?
lost 16 in a row. That was when there was only 16 games in the season.
Oh, okay. Sorry, 18 was wrong. I was like, we
The Browns have now lost 17 though once, so technically I'd say they're worse than us.
that's really bad. Like,
it's not good. It ain't good. Hey, I can if you want me to go off on a tangent on the 0-16 season for the Lions, I can fill in the next 30 minutes with it.
I don't think we need to.
Week 1, we got robbed. All right, we got robbed the first week. We should have had a win against the Chicago Bears. Calvin Johnson caught a touchdown in the end zone, and they called it back. They called it the Calvin Johnson rule. They implemented it because of him. They said he did not complete the process of the catch. He did. It was a touchdown. They turned around that rule 2 years later.
Oh, damn. That's kind of funny.
Yep. And if that didn't happen, we'd have had at least one win that season.
What year was that?
I forget the year. I should know that.
It was like 2014, 15.
Yeah. It was
like actually 10 years ago.
Yeah. It was a while ago. It was a couple different coaches ago. It was a couple like none of the players.
It was a different team.
Yeah, that was the year before Stafford. Like that year got us the number 1 pick, and then we drafted Matthew Stafford with it.
That at least something good came of it, right?
Yeah. Hey, the one good thing about not winning a single game in a football season is you are guaranteed to get that number 1 pick, unless someone else also does it, which means you didn't play them.
God, man, that's still so insane to me. But I want to highlight these. We got another comment here. Love checklist, just have too many. I end up forgetting to look at one of them. I highly recommend sticking to 1 or 2 solid plans instead. It really helps. I think this highlights a problem that a lot of people do have, where if you're trying for consistency, you try to stack on way too many things at once. I feel like this is also a human condition, a human problem, where we're like, I want to change up this and that, and I want to lose weight, and I want to eat healthier, and I also want to drink more water, and I need to start working out. And you're like, I'm going to habit stack all of these things. And sometimes we talked about habit stacking in a previous video. If you're trying to habit stack a bunch of new habits, it's not going to work because none of those are habits yet. If you don't have the habit of working out, you're not going to be able to make the habit of, okay, after I work out, I'm going to chug a gallon of water. You're not going to be able to set that out until you have an initial habit. So what that means is come up with your first one. If you want to be healthier, like Jordan, I know you talked about, hey, I want to do my diet. So you were like, I'm going to do my diet. And then I'm also going to work out. But you weren't like, I'm going to work out at the same time. I'm going to start these all at once. You were like, I'm going to get in my diet. And then once I'm doing it consistently, I'm going to add in working out. And I think that's really important.
They say you got to walk before you can run,
They do.
Before you can even walk, you got to take baby steps. So,
yeah, start somewhere. And it's more important, like I said, we talked about perfection. It's more important that you start. You need to start. And I think starting is probably the most difficult aspect of almost any new project. If you are, I want to start a podcast, that first episode, you're never going to release it. You won't. If you've never released a video before and you don't set down a time to record and you don't come up with a topic and you don't make it happen, it's not going to happen. So do the thing, make it consistent, and figure out how it works. Yeah. I remember our first month of podcasts. They were not good. I would love to go back and rewatch almost.
No, you can. They're on the internet.
Have you gone back and looked at any of our old videos?
No, I haven't watched any of our videos in a long time, brother.
Oh my goodness. See, I go back and I watch our shorts and stuff like that, and I'll watch some of the specific clips.
I'll watch them if they come across for me, but I've done a pretty good job of keeping my personal YouTube separate from it. But then as soon as I watched one, then all of a sudden my shorts kind of started getting filled up with our shorts because we do flood shorts a lot. Yep. And good thing.
I mean, organic content. We're out here recording this for a reason. We're out here trying to make content for a reason. I do think we've talked about improving and consistency. We've gotten this habit down 100%. Yeah. I think we could 100% habit stack on top of this of hey, let's meet up earlier and do a bit. Let's figure out what we're going to do. Like, we should come up with some actionable steps.
Yeah, no, I agree. But like then I also look at, and not to bounce off that point, this is something
Yeah.
that I've been sitting on here for a second. Like habit stacking, or like working on like just taking those first steps before you start doing the bigger things. Not to throw, we're on the Joey Matterhorn podcast right now, so we might as well talk a little bit on Joey Matterhorn himself. And he's had these ideas sometimes where he's like, he has been specific about it, like, hey, we're gonna do like 8 live shows a week, and we're gonna stagger them this time, and it's like, you know what, you have hammered out the details to make this work, but you have overloaded your plate like to an unreasonable amount that you're never going to be able to finish that. And then as soon as you hit that point of like, oh, I can't do this, then all of it falls apart. Versus if you just take one step at a time and you do that, then you're like, oh, I can now add on this other part. I have that bandwidth. Let's add that on. You can slowly get there. And then when you hit a point where it's like, oh no, this is too much, then you're like, I just undo that. You don't have to scrap everything and start from the beginning, like we've kind of seen happen a few different times over.
Yeah, and it is very much a overproduction. You can overdo it. There can be way too much planned out. There can be way too much done. And when you start piling things on, I really liked your plate analogy. It's like you're going up to the buffet and you only brought one plate and you're trying to put everything in the buffet on your plate because oh my goodness, I love all of this so much. You don't. Yeah, it's good food, but you need to eat some of it first. Go back.
What does your plate normally look like at a buffet?
Whoa,
real talk.
What type of buffet are we talking about here?
Chinese.
Oh, if we go to a Chinese buffet, I'm just getting like orange chicken and
just the whole plate of orange chicken.
Yeah, just orange chicken and
fried rice. Why are you going to a buffet, brother?
I don't generally do Chinese buffets.
Okay, man. What's your favorite type of buffet?
So I used to, as a kid, I would go to Ponderosa.
Okay.
Ponderosa buffets were my favorite thing in the entire world. I remember specifically when I was like, Ponderosa buffets are amazing. And I don't think Ponderosas even exist anymore.
They were plastic. Their food was plastic.
Well, and
I like Ponderosa too as a kid. Don't get me wrong, but looking back on it, I'm like,
see, and I went there for my 11th birthday. I love Ponderosa buffets, and I would just get the chicken wings and the biscuits and the rolls, because they have really good butter rolls and really good mashed potatoes and corn. So it was mashed potatoes, corn, rolls, and chicken wings.
See, I had to ask this question because you were like, you can't go to a buffet and just fill your plate with everything. And I'm like, you've never seen my first buffet plate. Like, I will go there and I will be like balancing it on the walk back.
I mean,
like, I'm at a buffet. I'm gonna eat at a buffet like it's at a buffet. I'm not gonna just do one thing at a time,
Well,
they listen. I'm gonna get my value out of this. And they say if like you eat slowly, you're gonna fill up on less food. This is an unhealthy way to look at it, but I'm gonna get as much food in me as I can before I feel full. If I am spending money on a buffet, I am getting the buffet.
I have to caution all of our listeners and watchers out there, because what Jordan is saying is, one, scientifically true. You feel full after you are full. Your stomach will fill up before your body tells you you're full if you eat quickly. So the slower you eat, the more likely you are to feel full, because you're going to feel full. Like, eat slower, you will fill up at the same space, and you'll stop eating before you overeat. It's one of the major problems we have in America. We overeat because we eat until we feel like we're stuffed every single time. We don't. If you stopped eating halfway through and just sat for 5 minutes, you would be full, because unironically, that's how your stomach works.
Do that with other food, sure.
Don't do it at a buffet.
Why would you go to a fucking buffet?
Which, I mean, 100% fair. Don't go to a buffet for that. But what the analogy here is, go up to the buffet, get your wings and your mashed potatoes and your corn and your roll, and then go eat it. And then go back up and go get your ice cream and go get your cake.
Or whatever you want next, because you're at a buffet and you can keep
exactly it. But the thing is, start with one plate. Start with one thing. You don't need to put everything onto the singular plate. You can go back and do more. It's not going anywhere. Working out's not going anywhere. There will be a gym near you forever. I
Yeah.
promise.
I'd say if you're at a buffet in your first trip to the front, you come back with 2 plates, maybe there's a problem there. I don't believe in being a 2-plate buffet person. Like,
This is where you
you're
draw
at
the
a
line at
buffet,
2 plates.
finish what you got, go get what you want, you know? Like,
Okay,
if
okay.
you can't fit it all on 1 plate, make sure you can finish that plate, because I do also hate being the guy who will, like, get too much at a buffet and be like, "Oh, I don't think I want this anymore, but I am still hungry, so I'm gonna go get another plate," with other
And
things
waste
on it,
this food.
and then like leave some things. That just seems disrespectful. But it's also a buffet, and I don't think that the people there really care. I almost care
Yeah,
more about the dishwashers than the waste of food. You know?
fair. But at the same time, like I said, it's more so a consistency issue. And we're bringing it all back to like habit stacking. Get one plate, get your one habit down, finish that, and then add another plate. Like go start one of your habits. Don't try to start everything all at once. Um I think we talked about habit stacking what 2 weeks ago, and I've like had habit stacking in my head. I brought it up a couple of times
Yeah,
outside.
yeah, yeah. We've mentioned habit stacking a good amount of times. Normally also comes along with the balancing spoons talk.
Yep. Balancing spoons and spell slots, man. But I also want to touch on this idea of like when you wake up in the morning and you're gonna make your bed, and I go through a routine of like I'm gonna go use the bathroom, I'm gonna brush my teeth, I'm going to wash my face, I'm going to go out and start making coffee. While I'm making coffee, I'm gonna do the dishes and take care of everything that's there. And I've got this morning kind of routine. What this helps with, and I think that this is something that maybe if you're listening, you might not think about too often, mental fatigue. When you wake up in the morning, if you need to think about everything that you're doing in the morning, if you need to think about how you're going to make coffee and what you're going to put in your coffee, if you need to think about what you're going to have for breakfast, if you wake up and you need to start making decisions immediately about your day, you are going to grow more fatigued. When you build up habits, when you build up consistencies in your life, you don't need to worry or think or make decisions surrounding them anymore. And it saves you the mental load. And I think as a society, we do not acknowledge how much of a mental load, how much mental fatigue we are experiencing every day. Like,
Mhm.
Jordan, would you say that you experience a lot of mental fatigue in your day?
Yeah. Um,
Just existing?
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot to take in, which and sometimes I'll feel guilty about that because it's like, what do I really like? How much information am I really taking in? How much am I really working my brain right now? Like, I
Mhm.
know there are people who do a lot more than I do on a day to day basis, and it's like those people, how do they do it? Because I'm like, I should do better than I do, but like, it's still though, like it doesn't underplay the fact that I'm feeling it. Like
Exactly. And comparison is the thief of joy. Like, let's be real.
true.
There are some people we played an improv game last night where one person sat in the middle and they had a person on either side, and the person on either side both tried to tell the person in the middle a story at the same time. Some people, like our instructor said, could get like 90% of what the people were telling them. I don't think anyone who was up there got more than 5 or 10%.
No,
It
I mean the
was,
guy got mine pretty well.
yeah,
But like I kind of gave him it by like just kind of like I almost told one story twice because like I got distracted kind of halfway through telling my story and I reverted back and was like, so anyway, this happened and that happened, like I said, and then we were done and it was like, oh, I pretty much told you my story twice, So
yeah.
and he definitely got more of mine than he got of yours.
Yeah, and the idea is, if you're in this situation where you're getting kind of drowned in information, how much are you actually taking away? And so, for example, I would challenge you if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, how much video content are you consuming in a day? When you see that TikTok, when you see the news, I want to say this pro con, you should be watching the news, you should be keeping up with what's going on, but we have access to more news, more information than at any other point in history. And on top of that, not just information, misinformation, lies, scandals, everything from everywhere. And when we can open up our phones, we can pull a little brick out of our pocket, open Facebook and just scroll and see, oh, terror, scared, people are dying, people are getting shot, countries are at war, there's nuclear missiles. That weighs on people in a
Mhm.
very unseen way that I'm going to be fascinated to see how we talk about this in 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
Because that impact of just being able to open up my phone and see all of that shit is huge. And
Yeah.
I don't think we have a way of quantifying that yet.
I think you're absolutely right, and like it, it's also becoming like all of that stuff that you're talking about is just shoved down your throat now. Like
Yeah.
outside of like deleting all the apps off your phone and staying off the internet, there is no way to avoid all that stuff, and it almost tinfoil hat really quick. Like it almost feels like media, government, ruling powers that be are intentionally doing that so that you'll shut yourself down.
Yeah.
Where it's almost like we're gonna overload you to the point where you are gonna feel like there's nothing you can do. You
Well,
know?
and they are. And
Yeah.
it's I'll be real. I don't know tinfoil hat if I get into the hey, it's a thing that people are trying to do. I lean much more into the people are not as malicious as they seem, but people are a lot stupider than they seem. So they don't think about the consequences. I think that there's a lot less critical thinking than
Yeah.
people believe. I
I
think people
do.
just don't think.
I do want to say I don't think those are mutually exclusive. I
No, that's
think that
true.
there can be people who are pushing that because people are kind of stupid.
Yeah.
Like I'm stupid. Like, but I also struggle to believe anything I don't see with my own eyes. So like I'm not the person to target with a lot of that. But then there's a lot of people who will be like very like you say one thing and I'm going to believe what this person says because it's that person saying it. And then it becomes this idea of okay, well now that we have them, let's just overload them because they aren't smart enough to make a decision for themselves. So we're going to overload them with facts until they just cannot make a decision at all.
And I honestly, so this is a great segue into one of the points that I wanted to make about consistency is that when you are consistent, the people around you see that.
Mhm.
Um, Consistency breeds and builds trust.
Yeah.
So when I say that I'm going to do something, when I say that, hey, we're going to go live at noon on Mondays and we're going to go live at noon on Tuesdays, I want that to mean something.
Yeah.
And I know that this is a conversation that I think we can have, Jordan, because I was having this with my partner Cassidy recently, and we were talking about how I will not use my words as much as she will. Um, in such a way as like I will not say that something is awesome or phenomenal or great unless I truly believe that that's awesome, phenomenal, and great. To the point of like not using those words or being effusive with my praise unless I actually mean it, and that can make me come across critical of some things. And it can also be a little bit defensive where I say, "Hey, I only use my words more sporadically," and be like, "Oh, so you think I just say everything is awesome?"
Well,
No, that's not the idea, but you know
yeah,
what I
no,
mean?
but that makes sense. Like if you withhold like saying something, like if you only hold those words for like when you truly want to say them and you don't just use them as like filler sprinkle on words, then they begin to gain weight. Like if you hear that word after every single thing, like, oh my God, babe, that's amazing. Oh my God, everything you're doing is so amazing. This is great. Like and like it doesn't mean as much as if like she doesn't hear it for a week and then all of a sudden she does something and you're like wow this is amazing like that
Yes.
that it's a totally different, it's almost like it's a different word
Yeah.
like
And it's worth noting, and I want to be very clear here because there's gonna be a short clip from this, and I don't want this one to get me in the doghouse. Um, don't sit there and hold back on I love yous and I care about yous and
Sam, cut that,
affirmations and
cut
praise.
that, cut that, clip everything before this, cut that, Sam.
Care about your partner. Go out of the way to make sure that they understand and know that you care about them. Don't be shitty. Don't be negative. Don't withhold love and care because, oh, it means less if I say I love you every time I leave. That's not what we're getting at here. I'm more so talking about like if I go to a carnival, that was pretty fun because it was a carnival. Now, that corn dog that I had at the carnival, they put fucking sugar in the dough and they covered it in like this weird ketchup that was so much more delicious than any ketchup I've ever had. I'm pretty sure it just had more sugar in it, but it was amazing. And those are two different things. I had fun at the circus, but that corn dog, I'm going to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to understand kind of the differences here of, okay, when I say be careful with your words, don't withhold love from your children. Uh, you don't need to say that the circus was the best place on earth, because it wasn't. It was a circus. And unless it was the best
I
place
mean,
on
yeah,
earth,
yeah,
and it was the best circus.
unless it was, yeah, like, hey, sometimes people, law of large numbers says a circus has changed someone's life at least once, you know,
Oh, 100%.
like,
Don't law of large numbers. Law of large numbers, right? You'd say I'm getting close to Joe. So let's highlight this last question here. How do you remotivate yourself when you start losing that consistency? So you're working out, you're falling off the bandwagon. I honestly, Jordan, you wanna hit this one, because
I think your brain is the strongest muscle you have because of its ability to control your entire body. You know, so I believe when I start feeling like I'm not doing something well, my biggest thing is changing the mindset. You know, is like if I feel like I'm losing my consistency, if I feel like I am, like just not acting in the best way that I can in any way at all, I have to first get into my own head and tell myself, A, start the thing, whatever it is, start it. A common theme that we say here. And then B, I have to remind myself that it's okay to stumble along the way,
yeah.
but like I have to tell myself that as long as I can tell myself to do something, I can do something, and so like it's a mind over matter thing for me always, and that also applies to my mental health a lot of times, like
Mhm.
that's always been a take that I've had. Like I don't take drugs for mental health or anything, and it's because I've had a long and it's not because I don't believe in them, but it's because I've had a long standing belief that anything that like I'm dealing with, my brain is stronger than it. Like if I can get myself ahead of it, and this isn't advice to anybody, this is just kind of how I am. Like if I can get ahead of it, I can feel better about things. I can lower the anxiety, and I've proven that to myself many a times. Like I get myself out of funks, and I believe that also applies to my consistency. Last week I told you last week I started off better last week than I had
Mhm.
done the week before, and that was because I got there and I was like, you can't keep doing that,
Yeah.
and like your brain, like I'll leave it at that. Your brain is more powerful than any other muscle in your body because it controls those muscles, and it is going to be what makes you do anything.
I think that you should ask yourself a question. Do I want to be the type of person who makes this decision? And that's what I go into something with. What type of person decides to do this? Do I want to be that type of person? And sometimes those are very small non-issues where it's like, do I want to be the type of person who drinks soda every day? Like that doesn't really matter. But it's like, hey, do I want to be dealing with the issues of drinking soda every day? Not really. So like let's try to like wean off of that. Recognizing in some situations, for example, this is getting maybe TMI and getting very deep into it, but if I'm in having an argument with my partner and I'm feeling angry and frustrated, do I want to be the person who yells? No, I don't. I don't want to be the person who yells. I don't want to be the person in the middle of the road having road rage, slamming on my horn and screaming from my car. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to have that tension in me. I don't want to have that anxiety. I don't want to have that anger and frustration in me. And so when I end up in those situations, I make mistakes. I 100% have raised my voice and yelled and gotten road rage and slammed on my horn, but recognizing and looking at those situations and being like, hey, I don't want to be that person. And I think that is one of the biggest, easiest ways to tell myself, like you said, hold yourself accountable of like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be the person who does that. Similarly, like, hey, if I'm going to make a commitment to something, I'm going to do an improv class and then back out of it and not show up. No, I don't want to be the person who doesn't show up. I
Yeah,
don't want to be the person who makes a plan and cancels last minute.
I
And
mean,
sometimes that happens, but
literally yesterday, like I told you, like my throat was hurting, I had a headache, there was a bunch of reasons for me to have not gone yesterday, but it was week 2 and I was like I was so afraid that that would create a bad habit already, of like I can miss if I need to miss,
yeah,
like and so I was like, but I also felt bad because like if I'm sick, I don't want to go and get everybody else
which
sick.
is
And so I'm like,
that's
how am I gonna hide this but also not get everybody sick, and so it was a tough spot. Like the night before, I was genuinely worried because like my throat was hurting that day. Like the
Yeah.
night before, like it was like I couldn't swallow water without being like, and I was like, fuck, I'm gonna have to miss improv on week 2. And then I was already worrying about week 3 because of what that would do to my mindset.
Well, exactly. And I think part of that is recognizing within yourself, hey, if I called off this week, I probably would not be in a good spot for next week because consistency is really important for me. And as soon as you give yourself that out, as soon as you let yourself stop,
Mm-hmm.
you lose a little bit there. You lose a little bit of discipline. And I'll be real, like I think we highlight a lot of proper and good ways to do things. We're not perfect. We don't do these things. I just talked about earlier how we need to actually come up with actionable goals, a list of 1, 2, 3, 4 for the podcast, because we don't do all of these things perfectly. We do some of them, and we mention these things and we learn along with you, and that's kind of what this whole podcast is about. The whole reason we're here, we're learning, we're growing. This is skill building 101. We spend an hour on Mondays and an hour on Tuesdays looking at a camera, standing here with a microphone, figuring out how Riverside works so that we can bring information to you. We can learn and grow and build these skills. And that's consistency. I'm here for that shit. But we're not perfect.
No.
And I think it's 100% worth noting that when you lose some of that consistency, you can't beat yourself up about it too much. Beat yourself up, definitely beat yourself up and hold yourself accountable. Try to get back on that bandwagon, but you can't let it pull you into a pit, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's something I've struggled with in the past is wanting to do something consistently, falling off the bandwagon, and then guilting myself over it.
And I do think there's a difference. You say like beat yourself up. There's a difference between beating yourself up and like you said two different things. You said beat yourself up, hold yourself accountable. They're not exactly the same thing.
It's true.
You
That's
know?
very true.
Like it's again, like I said, it's a mindset thing. Like it's like the people who say failure. You can't fail because every time you fail is a chance to learn. Like don't beat yourself up, but recognize where you're doing wrong and take that as a lesson as to how to do right.
Yeah. And so using the example of the improv class, if you had missed class yesterday, what would you have done to make sure you were going Wednesday? Is there something you could have done or an idea you have now that would make you feel like you need to hold yourself accountable?
Going Wednesday? You mean going next Sunday? Like
Or
going?
going Sunday, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, it would just be a lot of reminding myself that I paid for this, like that. Hey, $250 is kind of steep for the courses. I feel like it to an extent, but also on that note, it is a fantastic motivator to keep you going to do it.
Yeah.
There's one guy who hasn't shown up yet. There's
Yeah,
somebody
I
who's
find
on
that
12
amazing.
weeks. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money to just be like, nah.
Yeah, I'm kind of like you don't want to
Now,
waste that money.
now 2 weeks in, I don't expect to see him.
Yeah,
Like,
I'll be
how do you show up 3 weeks late?
Yeah, you've missed a little bit much at this point, so I don't think that they're going to show up. So, for example, me, I was in class yesterday. After class, a lot of people go over to one of the brewing companies and go grab a pretzel and a drink and a soda, whatever. I did not go yesterday because I was not planning on going, and I specifically planned on not going. But as soon as everyone was going, I was like,
And
I
it's
wish
gonna
I
be a thing, brother. Like
and
we
it-
had
well, and I
more,
could have
we had
changed
more
my
people
mind.
there this time than we did last time too.
100%. And I could have changed my mind, and nothing was holding me back. It wasn't like I let Cassidy know and she was expecting me home. I could have 100% stayed if I wanted to, but I made my game plan, and so I
Mhm.
wanted to maintain my game plan. And so for me, going into next week, I let Cassidy know. I was like, "Hey, so as a heads up, I am going to go out afterwards, and I'm going to plan on in the future for the following weeks going out afterwards for at
Yeah.
least half an hour."
Do
And
you regret
that's
not going
me.
yesterday?
What?
Do you regret not going yesterday? Sorry, I didn't mean
No,
to
not
interrupt.
really.
Sure.
I was pretty hungry, so I almost wanted to go in and grab a pretzel and just
Mhm.
hang out and grab a pretzel and walk out. But also, I went and I grabbed Culver's and I brought Cassidy home a drink, and she was super tired, and we had a
Yeah.
chance to kind of chat and go over the class, which is what I enjoy doing regardless.
Yeah.
But I know that I want to go and hang out with people and be kind of part of that community. And so
Yeah,
like for me, I told Cassidy about it, and that's going to hold myself accountable. Is
yeah,
I will reach out to others and be like, "Hey, so I'm going to do this thing." I'll do it with Eric too, where I'll be like, "Hey, so I'm going to do this new video thing, and then I'll show it off afterwards when I'm done. Like I'm going to create a new thumbnail, and here's the new thumbnail design."
yeah.
That type of thing. So I think telling others to hold yourself accountable is 100%
That's
something you
huge.
should do.
Yeah, no, that is massive. Like, I tell everybody, like, sometimes at some point with my diet, I was like, do I want to keep telling people? But it's like me telling people and people noticing it and like asking me about it is a huge motivation to continue doing it.
Yeah, and it's there's a difficulty there where some people, and this is something that I've run into a couple of times, will feel shame, very, very, very deep shame if you do ask them and they've fallen off. And it can be very difficult with some people who are in that spot. So if they've fallen off the bandwagon, think of like Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah,
You need to hold someone accountable, and then they don't. They fall off. They don't. They want to hide it. They don't want to talk about it. And so those are very, very difficult situations. In those situations, you want to be very careful, but you also, at the end of the day, like I said, you're going to be the person who makes the decisions you make. So
yeah,
if you want to be the person who makes that decision, that's the type of person you want to be, then make that decision. But if it's not, make better decisions, and that's you're the only one who can control it.
absolutely, absolutely.
Anything else from you, Jordan, before we hop out of here?
Uh, hmm, Go Seahawks, I guess.
Hell yeah.
Like I don't really care who wins the Super Bowl, but I think I might root for the Seahawks just because I don't. I
Who are
kind
the
of like the
teams?
Patriots team, the Patriots and the Seahawks. It's a little rematch.
I was gonna
They
say,
were
wasn't
they
that
were
like 2016?
Yeah, it was somewhere around then. Yeah, like when the Seahawks were on the 1 yard line ready to win the game, and then they threw an interception instead of handing it to literally the best running back in the league. They had guaranteed to get like 2 yards a carry. All they needed was one. They threw the ball because the coach was like, everybody's going to be expecting us to run it. And then he threw an interception and they lost the game.
That's awful,
That's
man.
crazy, isn't it?
That's crazy.
Redemption week.
Good luck. Have fun to everyone there. But if you are new here, my name's Cody. I was joined by Jordan. We're both part of Good Rep Media. Good Rep Media is a small business marketing agency. We help small businesses rank better on Google. We help you get customers in your door. We help you get customers on your site. If that's something that interests you, reach out. We offer free consultations. Let me go grab that link for you. Goodrep.media. That's our site. Come check us out. And join us tomorrow, where we are going to be live on the Good Rep Media channel talking about our improv, how improv is teaching us for work, what we're kind of expecting to get out of it for all this. It should be a really fun one. I'm super stoked. So love to see you there. I'm trying to think. I'm like, I think that's everything. We didn't have any other announcements, did we?
Not that I can think of.
Hell yeah. Well, join us tomorrow. We'll see you guys then. Appreciate it. Talk to you next time.